The Saturday Morning Snap is a one-stop fantasy shop, bringing weekly news and advice in under an hour. I'm Mackenzie Tout, joined by Landon Monula. Welcome to the podcast. We are back, live on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or however you may be listening. We want to welcome you into the show. It is Saturday, November 3rd, episode 29 of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, joined by my man, Landon Monula. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I am excellent as always. It's a late night for us. I was busy slinging pies, but this is true passion for the game of fantasy football.
Yeah, it's currently 1:45. It is technically Saturday.
Yep, it's true. We're true to our word. We're Saturday morning.
Yeah, we are trying to get this out for you guys at 5 a.m. Eastern time, because some of you like to get up early, and we want to give you a little pod to listen to. So, what do we got on the dock today, Lando?
I picked some fun matchups that we can talk about this week. We've got, since we had so much fun with it, and you seem to kill it when you do it one-on-one versus me, we're going to do a live DK one-on-one, Amano versus Amano. And
you got some week 9 matchups that you've picked, which I like.
Yep, and we've got our starts of the week, which we always like to do as tradition since week 1. And then last minute I was just thinking, who are some second half MVPs that really have maybe kind of let us down the first half of the season, and who could be that guy to win you your league? And some of them I think are pretty good, and some of them might be a little bit risky. It's always tough to you can't count on injury, and there's a couple running backs in particular that have been injured in the first half of the season that if they come back, they could be huge impact players.
Yeah, absolutely. We are on Instagram at Saturday Morning Snap, and we're also on Twitter, Landon_SMS and Mac_SMS. Let's jump into the news and notes.
So I put this in there for you.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. We talked about last week how the Packers were selling instead of buying. They sold their Pro Bowl safety, Clinton Dix. And I have a theory. I've been reading lots of articles, listening to podcasts, NFL Network, and maybe could they have done the best thing for that franchise, getting rid of a former Pro Bowl player and letting their young guys step up and kind of help lock down their defense. We'll talk about the Packers a little bit later, so I want this to be quick. But do you see it that way, or are you a little bit disappointed as the resident Packers fan?
I am a little bit disappointed that they let Clinton Dix go. Big part of the team, but like you sort of alluded to, and what I had talked in the preseason was that Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson were drafted rounds 1 and 2 for the Packers for a reason. And if you watched last week, Jair Alexander was all over the field, getting his hands in the passing lanes, making big plays. They lost in the end on a terrible decision by Ty Montgomery. I'm convinced, though, if Ty Montgomery doesn't take that ball out or doesn't fumble, it's a Packers win 30-29. 2 minutes on the clock, Rodgers is going down, they're getting that field goal. They only need to move it about 45 yards. So, you know what? It would have been nice to keep him, but they're trying to build on somewhat of a young team that they have, and I don't mind the move, but we got nothing for Ty Montgomery. I'm okay with. It's kind of like you cut him, but
yep.
I kind of wish was still with us, but they got a decent they got some decent value for him. So it's not the end of the world. We've got good replacements.
Yep. Sounds good. And as many of our listeners know, this is a bipocalypse week. We have the Cardinals, Bengals, Colts, Giants, Eagles and Jaguars on bye. So it's probably been tough to put a lineup together. You probably have guys you didn't want to drop. So if you have a burner spot, like we like to say, is watch who was dropped. Even right now, they turn into free agents really soon. And pick up those guys that people didn't want to drop, but they had to do a spot start for a guy like Sterling Shepard or any other Bengals players that have been playing well. So keep an eye on the waiver wire. But other than that,
I was going to say 2 pieces of running back news to maybe visit here quickly.
Yeah.
So you are sort of, between the two of us, the Le'Veon Bell expert with his situation. You're
Right.
very well informed. So I've been thinking about maybe trying to inquire Le'Veon Bell for, trade deadlines are approaching.
Acquire him, yeah.
Acquire him, try to get him on a cheap, maybe a team that's given up. I thought about in Dynasty, maybe Leonard Fournette and a next year's first or second rounder for Le'Veon Bell. Just trying to get some win now pieces, but who knows if Le'Veon Bell will return. So let's revisit the Le'Veon Bell saga. It continues. There's still some drama. He hasn't reported to camp as far as we know. So give us an update on the situation and if you think he has any value for the rest of the season.
So my theory has changed over the course of the season. And a few weeks ago, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, we talked about it and said, I don't know if he comes back, why would he play? Why would he put his body at risk of an injury since he's been avoiding that all season? So my new theory, and I've heard this from a few different people and players, and it seems to make sense to me. So we expect him to report by week 10, right? That's what everyone's been saying.
Yeah.
Because then he's a free agent next year, and that's in the end his goal. My theory is that he will not show up at all. He will not show up this season at all. He will forego his opportunity to be a free agent, but he will lose all that money, that whatever $16 million he was guaranteed this year for his franchise tag.
He's losing that money.
He'll lose all that money, and that will give Pittsburgh the opportunity to franchise tag him again next year. However,
I think it'll be a tag and trade though.
Well, so that's the thing. So you try to tag him and then you try to trade him, but who's to say Lev would play for a team? He likes Pittsburgh. He would love to win a championship in that league, but with that team in that city, but he wants to get a long-term deal because he's old and one of the best players in the NFL. So he wants to get that paid long-term guaranteed money that Todd Gurley, that David Johnson, even Saquon Barkley got a great guaranteed deal out for a rookie player.
Like 133 or something crazy?
Yeah, so it's one of those things that even if he gets tagged and traded, the team that he gets traded to, who's to say that he's going to play for them? He could hold out to them and not sign his tag or anything. So my theory is that he doesn't show up at all this season. It's a lost season for Lev Bell. But because of the goodwill or the headache that Pittsburgh doesn't want to go through, and they have a guy already who's great in James Conner in Pittsburgh, they will let Lev walk. They will not
He probably hates James Conner. He's just made this whole situation a hell of a lot worse.
He did make it worse. Things could have been a little bit different if it potentially happened, but maybe not. You never know. Either way, I think how this season has progressed, and we still have not heard from Lev Bell. He's going to let this season go. Really hope maybe there's a sideways handshake under the table deal that they will not franchise take him. Let him go. They won't get anything for Lev Bell, it's kind of crappy if you're a Pittsburgh fan and you want to get at least a draft pick next year or whatever. But
I think the franchise tag is a bunch of baloney.
Exactly. So if they want to use it on someone else, now they can. They're not going to waste on a running back that's not going to play for them, right? As well. And yeah. So I think he is he goes to another team next year, gets a long-term deal with a guy at the team like the Eagles, or I don't know who else.
I honestly thought the Eagles were going to make a bid for him this trade deadline, but nothing happened.
No,
and it might have been Pittsburgh saying, "No, he's not available." But we heard that they were shopping him. But regardless, I think the franchise tag is junk because the whole point of the franchise tag is to set the player up to work towards a long-term deal. And all the Steelers have really done is just paid him the minimum.
Yeah, they've given him a 1-year deal every year, and that's not what he wants. It's a game. This is a very violent game where at any minute you saw Raheem Mostert go through it, fall awkwardly, it ruins your career. And
hey, listen, Raheem Mostert was trying to take one of our shows away from us. Raheem Mostert just started the Thursday night snap.
Oh, no.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Raheem, don't do it, bro. Don't do it.
I'm surprised they replayed that on live TV. That was such disgusting. A gruesome injury.
It looked like a little rubber arm, like a little chicken arm.
So it's one of these. He wants guaranteed money. He wants his kids to be good and his grandkids and their grandkids to be good.
No, I get it.
Right?
Yeah. Just an update on Mostert. He did have surgery today on his arm. He gonna be gone for a while.
Oh, snap.
Oh, Thursday night snap.
So
let's move on to the weekly matchups.
Sounds good.
Weekly matchups.
So you did mention the 6 teams on bye, and I don't understand why the NFL does this. They have some weeks where it's only 2, and then some weeks where it's 6. It just doesn't make sense to me, but regardless, we got a couple good matchups on the docket here today. We're going to be featuring the Texans at the Broncos, the Chargers at the Seahawks, and the Packers at the Patriots. That one's going to be super spicy.
Oh, yeah.
So where you want to start? You want to start Texans Broncos?
We'll start at the early game on Sunday afternoon. The Broncos are favored by 1 point. Am I reading that correctly?
Yeah, it's a pick'em game. I think just that stadium in Denver it's a difference maker. You can see guys get fatigued if they're not used to playing at that altitude. So I think a little bit of home field advantage. It would probably be on neutral field. It would be probably Texans by 2, but home field's usually about 3 points. So it's a pick'em game. Broncos by 1. They're coming into this game 3-5. Texans 5-3.
I think everyone's picking the Texans in this game, and we get why. Hopkins looks great. Deshaun Watson looks great. They just traded for Demaryius Thomas. This should be an interesting game.
I've actually gone on the other side in my pick'em leagues and went Broncos.
Oh, really? Wow. What made you do that? Just the Broncos D looks really good.
Denver's defense has been fantastic. Chubb and Von Miller, they've been amazing in the pass rush. Cortland Sutton should get in that spotlight, but I really like what Phillip Lindsay's doing too. So I think this Broncos offense clicking a little bit, and the defense is just a little bit better than the Texans. And then you've got a new player coming in on the Houston side, right? Like Demaryius Thomas is basically going right back to work, same old routines. He's just putting a different jersey on this week. I think it's going to be really weird for him. I don't know what his impact's going to be like right away. And so there, there's chemistry takes time. I don't think it's just going to be one of those things where Demaryius switched sides and just lights the world on fire. He's been the wide receiver 40, 42 on the year. So
Terrible.
yeah, not great. So he's still going to be in that wide receiver 3 / maybe even 4 category. He's got to have a little bit more upside going to the Texans, but he's not going to be enough to, I think, get them this W.
Yeah. Over under on how many times Demaryius Thomas runs to the wrong team's bench.
No, he's a professional. I think he'll be all right, but maybe once.
So is Case Keenum a streamer this week? Because that pass rush for the Texans have been equally as stout as the Broncos.
It could be a very defensively run game, to be honest. Like you've got Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt on the Texans side, and then you've got Bradley Chubb and Von Miller on the Broncos. So both quarterbacks are going to be under pressure all game. I like Deshaun Watson's ability to maybe extend plays with his legs, but he hasn't been all too great this year. I could see this being like a very defensive game, maybe like a 21-14 game or something like that, 21-17, somewhere in that ballpark. But
so it's a 46-point over under. You would probably take the under if you're a betting man.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
cool. So
you know what? I probably would stay away from Keenum this week. I think for me, it's definitely a Sanders, Lindsey, for sure starters. If you want to go as far as flexing Sutton, I don't mind the play. I just don't think you can expect a big game from him at this point in time. Like I'm not on that train where people are saying that Cortland Sutton is going to just explode. It's going to take some time.
Yeah, the hype around Sutton is so real. It's crazy. Like I just popped up Yahoo, and there's a quote from Chris Harris Jr., the safety Pro Bowl cornerback on the Broncos, saying, "I don't know how Sutton wasn't picked in the top 10 in the NFL draft." So there's so much hype around Sutton, and I think this could be a bit of a letdown game. I have to play him in a league or two maybe because I have him stashed everywhere, and I'm excited long term for him in keeper leagues, but I'm not expecting huge things. He's also going to be a very popular DFS pick because
for sure,
right? You see you don't get too many opportunities where a guy leaves, and in DFS, especially with running backs, when a starter goes down late and the pricing's already set, that's when the chalk plays of the James Connors.
The value's too good, right?
The value's too good, yeah.
And that might be the case with Sutton, but yeah, if you're in like a 14-16 team league, I think Sutton is definitely a flex consideration. Or if you play in a 2 flex league, he's probably in that category, but he is a boom or bust play. You can't say that he's just going to go out there and get volume because we haven't seen that yet,
Yeah. So on the Houston side of the ball, you've got Miller, who's had a great few weeks now. He's almost an auto start now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Deshaun Watson, Hopkins, you're starting, and you mentioned DT, and you're not too keen on him as wide receiver 3, kind of a flex. Similar situation as Sutton, or who do you have ranked higher this week?
Yeah, they're both in the same category. I think just for upside play, I would probably have to go Sutton.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's probably counterintuitive to what most of you might be thinking. But if Kiki Cutie ends up playing, I don't think DT gets as many looks as Sutton gets.
Right. And I think Kiki should actually play this week. So
yeah, trending to be in. So that's another factor, right?
Yeah. He's the possession guy, and I think he can go deep. So it's hard. I don't know what role. It'll be interesting to see what role each player plays.
DT doesn't
watching this game.
Yeah, DT doesn't fill that Will Fuller role though. He's not the speedster on the outside going deep, right?
Yeah.
If anyone was going to play that, it'd be Kiki.
Yeah, right after the trade happened, that's exactly what we said. So I think nothing's really changed, and yeah, I don't know what defense I like more. Probably Houston. Do you like Denver more? I know you like Denver long term.
Yeah, I do like Denver. I have them in a couple leagues. I told you guys last week to stash them if you could for the playoffs because they're weeks 13 through 16 matchups are just so nice.
Yeah.
I considered playing the Broncos, but I'm gonna end up playing Dallas Monday night.
That's a great play. I like that.
Yeah, so if you have Denver and no other options, I think you'll be fine to play them.
Sounds good. So any final touches on this matchup, Mac?
No, I think it'll be a defensive game. Like I said, lower scoring. It should be a good game as a football fan, but you're probably not going to be too happy as a fantasy owner for a lot of these players.
But what matchup do you want to talk about next?
Let's preview the Chargers and the Seahawks. A nice game. These guys they're always pretty much suited for a clash, a good game, a thriller. This one comes in at 46 points as well, and it's kind of funny that the Texans and the Broncos would have the same over/under as the Chargers and Seahawks. Is that 46 point correct?
I'll go double check into that. I think when I was on, the score was having some glitches with their website. I'll go vet that real quick.
Okay. Either way, the Seahawks are at home. They're 1.5 point favorites. Again, another really close game, pick'em game. Seahawks coming in 4-3, getting a nice victory over Detroit last week, and then the Chargers rolling 5-2, coming off the bye. They're looking real solid. But there's still some questions here, right? Melvin Gordon, still questionable to play. We know he sat out. And that hurt. I mean, that hurt me in Dynasty a couple weeks ago. I had Gronk and Melvin, and they were both no-go. Still got the W, thankfully, with some nice spot starts of Sammy Watkins and a couple other guys. But, man, it's really tough to see Melvin not on the field.
I totally agree. It's not a great spot for Eckler either. Seattle's been fairly good against the run, and I think with Melvin in, that's the hard part. Does he play? Even if he does, is he on a snap count? I'm a little hesitant towards Melvin Gordon. I think if he plays, you gotta start him, right?
Yeah, if Melvin is good to go, if he's healthy come game time, you gotta start him. He's your stud, man. You can't stray away from those guys. If he gives you a donut, whatever, but you gotta if he's ready to play and healthy, you gotta start him. So Austin Eckler, I don't mind the play. I think for sure Keenan Allen is definitely there. I might go against Phillip Rivers this week and sit him down. I really don't know if this is the week where he kind of proves he's matchup proof, or if this is where you kind of see him have that really tough game, like 250 yards and 1 touchdown. I could see that in the realm of possibilities for him. So I might stray away from Rivers and try to find somebody else, like, an Alex Smith, who I might talk about in a little bit later.
Yeah, it's the updated line is at 47.5 points.
Okay.
So a little bit better, not too much higher than the other matchup, but it's weird to think that now the Seattle running game is a little bit more
viable.
It makes you feel better starting Chris Carson right now than one of the Chargers running backs. But they really have a run first offense these days, and that's really hurt Doug Baldwin, Russell Wilson, but Tyler Lockett's had almost a touchdown every game.
Mm-hmm.
And even their David Moore has been doing really well too. So where do you see this passing game from Russell Wilson? We'll talk about maybe Dougie a little bit later, but do you start any of these guys with confidence? None of them at all? What do you do?
No, I like Russell Wilson. I like Chris Carson. I actually really like Tyler Lockett over Doug Baldwin for sure. If I hold Baldwin, which I don't in any leagues, but if I did, I wouldn't be playing him.
Right. Yeah. I mean, LA's defense has been pretty banged up, but they've been solid. They're an athletic team. They've got a good record. They're 5-2. They're playing for a playoff spot. They finally started the year with a good record rather than finishing the year with a good record. So this might be the year they finally make a move. Is that possible? Do you like that?
Potentially. I mean, I don't know. It's such a weird, very intriguing matchup. I just see on the Seattle side of the ball. The reason why I'm not so big on Doug Baldwin is he hasn't really had that flash so far this year. He hasn't scored
a hurt, right? And we don't know if he's still if he's healthy yet.
Sure, but he hasn't scored a touchdown yet. He's had since he's been playing, he's had 7, 1, 8, and 3 targets in the last 4 games.
Yeesh.
And Tyler Lockett and David Moore are both sort of making the most of their time on the field. And I think it's just been such a frustrating time if you've owned Doug Baldwin anywhere. Or if you are a fan of this offense, it's really tough to see Doug Baldwin struggle because he's been that man, that go-to guy for Russell Wilson. And Russell Wilson has given you decent games, but he hasn't been that. Last year he was the number 1 fantasy quarterback. And so in the absence of Baldwin, and then he lost Will Dissly, and it's getting a little bit muddy for the Seahawks, but they still find a way to win. And I think it's been on the back of a newly established run game and 2 guys stepping up at the wide receiver position, but it hasn't been Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, the teams, despite their 4-3 record, they are still in a bit of a mess, but they're still in a prime position to make a playoff run, and hopefully we'll talk about them later in maybe an end of the season push for these MVP players.
Who wins this game?
I like the Seahawks to upset.
Give me the Chargers, 6-2.
Yeah, I like it. It's funny. We're kind of going. We've been kind of opposite picks so far. So that's why I kind of pick these games. You've got a great 1:00 game to watch. You have a good 4:00 game here, and then lastly we have
the fireworks,
an 8:00
baby,
game with a 56-point over under, according to a few minutes ago. And there should be a lot of fantasy points to be had, but where can you get them?
Green Bay Packers coming in on the road as 5.5-point dogs to play the New England Patriots. Packers are 3-1, Patriots 6-2. Playing at Foxborough, never easy. I think the fantasy points in this game can come from a lot of different people. You got to start Aaron Rodgers. You got to start Aaron Jones. The absence of Ty Montgomery, just taking one more guy out of the backfield who could get passing touches, who could get goal line carries, third down carries. It just means more for Aaron Jones. And, Jamal Williams probably sees a lot less of the ball, maybe 25-30%, but it's going to be mostly Aaron Jones. So if you've got Aaron Jones, I say fire him up. He was in large consideration for my start of the week. Really, really big on him, but I'm going elsewhere for the running back position, but I'm really big on Jones this week. And Devontae Adams continues to be a stud regardless of the matchup, so you roll him out. Absolutely. It doesn't look like Randall Cobb or Geronimo Allison are going to play this week. So we look back to the rookies again. Equanimous St. Brown, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, both been very fantasy relevant in their short times and opportunities. If you got Valdez, I might flex Valdes-Scantling over Sutton this week, which is, you might sound crazy, but the last time I made Valdes-Scantling my start of the week in the same situation, absence of Randall Cobb and Geronimo Allison, he was great. He almost had 2 touchdowns. He had that one taken away at the goal line because the ball came out before he'd broken the plane, or his elbow was down, or it doesn't matter, but gave you a really good game, like 90 and 1 score. So, I just think in a game that lends itself to fantasy production with a Green Bay Packers offense that is a great passing offense, the ball's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, you're right. And it's one of those games where you chase the high over under. You have 10 extra points in this game, and that's a good call. Aaron Rodgers has to throw the ball somewhere, exactly like you said. And Valdes-Scantling could be a great
This game's going like 40-37.
That'd be a great game.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's going to happen.
So on the other side of the ball, you're obviously starting Tom Brady. We don't need to talk about him much. A lot of questionables on the Patriots side. You have Gronk questionable. You have Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon, Cordell Patterson, Sony Michel. Everyone is questionable, but
You know who's not questionable?
James White.
Frickin' James White.
He is what a stud that guy is. He's been a first half MVP by a long
I was going to
shot.
say, you want to talk MVP? It's James White.
Yeah. And we've talked about him at length. He was the last running back taken on that New England backfield, and he's been by far the best one. So it's chasing these players from high scoring teams and equals high fantasy points. So
Yeah, you're really going to have to monitor the health of all of these guys, but regardless.
So I'm just reading an article here. They all returned to practice on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it was at a limited fashion or full practice, it's hard to really say at this point, but really monitor them on Sunday. I think Gronk, Edelman, Gordon, I think they all play. I think all those guys play. Patterson.
Let's talk about a theoretical situation where Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman don't play. Gronk plays. Do you go to Chris Hogan? Is he a start?
Oh, for sure. Because he is actually not on the injury report because he doesn't get targeted enough to get hurt. No, absolutely. You know what? He's been somewhat involved, not as involved as last year when he really kind of broke out. But yeah, you definitely go Chris Hogan. Brady's gonna throw the ball a ton, and Gronk, his body just can't keep up to the volume that is needed from him in that offense. So. Yeah, I think Chris Hogan, like you said, high over under. Even though he could be a third, fourth option, chase those points. He could be a sneaky DFS play.
Okay.
Starts of the week.
So that was where the weekly matchups we're going to do this week. We're going to truck through our starts of the week, moving quickly. At the quarterback position, who are you going to go with this week, Lando?
I'm rolling with Fitz Magic.
No, you're not.
Absolutely. Listen, if you combine Fitz Magic and Jameis Winston over the course of the season, they are the number 2 overall quarterback. And that streak will continue. They play Carolina, should be a good high-scoring game. Carolina's defense has been solid, but he's been good. Fitzmagic has been good, and I think this helps all fantasy players on the Bucs side. Their defense is so bad they're going to have to throw the ball, and he's accurate. He's going to get the ball to his guys. Deshaun Jackson is, I'll jump right to it. He's my wide receiver start of the week because he's been so good with Fitzy throwing the ball, and I think Carolina their defense gets a downgrade. If Jameis Winston was still in, absolutely fire up the Panthers defense. But I think it's good. I think he plays the full game. I don't think they go back to Winston. And those two, that stack attack is going to be my starts of the week at those 2 spots.
I like it.
And Djax really only needs one play to do it for you.
It's a greasy play. It's you're getting dicey, but you're right. Fitzmagic has been great. Kind of got his job back after losing it. Was it week 4 or week 5? Sort of had that dud game. And Jameis Winston came in. He wasn't any bit better in my opinion, but yeah, you know what? I hope if Fitzmagic kind of keeps the magic rolling and cements his spot as the starting QB for that team. But it's a greasy play.
The only fearful thing is if they swap quarterbacks, if he throws a couple picks and they go back to Jameis, that's really the only concern. But I don't see that happening this week. That should be good.
This could be instant dumpster fire.
It could be, but can't get much worse than Derek Carr on Thursday night, right?
Oh my goodness gracious!
We didn't even talk about that game. We decided to record.
I don't want to.
We recorded
want
late in case anything happened that's fantasy relevant, but literally nothing happened.
The only thing we talked about was Raheem Mostert breaking his arm.
Yeah, he had a great game going.
George Kittle was great.
Their quarterback, who got verified halfway through the game, was great, but we'll talk about that another day.
Nick Mullins, jeez Louise. I'm also going with a quarterback in a good matchup this week. Atlanta has allowed 28 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks this year, and every quarterback since week 2 has scored at least 21 points against their defense. I'm going with Alex Smith. Okay, and the trend for Alex Smith is he has not scored 20 fantasy points in 5 weeks. So he's in a little bit of a slump. Hasn't been giving you the games that you need, but what does that mean? Alex Smith will be on the waiver wire in your league. So if you've got a guy with a bad matchup, maybe like Phillip Rivers, go out and maybe get some Alex Smith, because the Falcons defense is horrendous. Alex Smith is not that bad of a quarterback, and this is definitely the week where he is stream worthy in week 9. So I like Alex Smith and the Redskins to get it done in Atlanta.
That's kind of gross too.
Hey, we got to get a little bit creative.
It's as safe as you could get at the quarterback position, especially in a good matchup. Hey, if you need a guy to go pick up your kids from school, you need a babysitter while you're out with your wife, give Alex Smith a call. He's so reliable. He's going to take care of them. No problem whatsoever.
Wow.
I don't know why I went the kids route. I don't have kids, but like you get what I'm saying.
Sure.
You need a DD at the end of the night. You're out partying with your boys. Bring Alex Smith around.
It's Alex Smith.
He'll drink soda with limes all night.
Classy. He's a classy man.
So, all right, my running back start of the week is a little bit gross too, and he's up and down like a roller coaster. And last week you thought it was a great matchup, but this week I'm going because it's a better matchup, and that is Isaiah Crowell.
Oh my! What is happening with this podcast?
Man, we're diving down. The Dolphins.
We're digging deep.
The Dolphins defense is just so bad against running backs, and I'm gonna chase those points. We can see that Crowell can have big games. He goes 20 points or he goes 3 points, and I think this is a big 20-point game. I think both offenses are just terrible, and it's hard to rely on anyone. But if you have Isaiah Crowell, I say start him with confidence. You probably have a better option, to be honest with you. But at a flex play, I think he's better than the Doug Baldwins we were talking about, even the Cortland Suttons. I think he's a safer guy to start in your flex spot if you swing that way.
Okay. I'm also going a little bit greasy. Not Isaiah Crowell depths of the earth gross. But I'm going with Nick Chubb.
I like that play. He's a great player, that guy.
Here's what I'm thinking with Nick Chubb. We got rid of 2 clowns in Cleveland this week. Bye-bye Hugh Jackson. Actually, I shouldn't call Todd Haley a clown. I think he's generally a pretty decent offensive coordinator, but Hugh Jackson's just a moron. So,
well, him and McCarthy have something in common. They have extreme talent at their positions, and they could just ride that wave as long as they can.
Yeah. Well, what was Hugh Jackson's record in 3 years? Like 3
and 32 or something like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's just terrible. So
he's coming out to the media and blaming other people. It's pretty pathetic.
Just look, take it on the chin and move on. Anyways, Chubb looked really good in his first week as the starter. Okay, last week not so hot, but I think with him he's got a high floor. He's getting double-digit carries, in that 15 to 18 range for, even if he's getting 18 carries for 60, 70 yards, and he's getting a couple looks in the passing game as well, the floor is there. So to me, he's a safe play. And I know the Browns have a new a new coaching staff and Greg Williams, and I think offensive coordinator is Freddie Kitchens. Um, it's not a great situation to come in and have two guys take over the play calling, but I think out of necessity, Chubb will be used a handful, and like I said, the floor is just so high for him that he doesn't really hurt you. He adds safety, he adds volume and touches, and if he can break one off for a touchdown or get into the end zone, he's gonna make your day.
Yeah, the Kansas City defense started off really poorly. They've gotten a little bit better as of late, but they still give up the yards. And it'd be, I guess, best case scenario if this is a shootout and both passing and running games for both teams are viable all game long. And I heard this stat. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the last time Pat Mahomes and Baker Mayfield squared off, there was like over 1,000 passing yards between the two of them, or something ridiculous. Like the score was so high. These guys are just gunslingers, and they shot off fireworks back in college. So I don't have the exact stat. I could be way off, but I know that it was a very high scoring. It was a record-setting matchup. So that would be great if this happened again.
Absolutely.
So
let's move on to the wide receiver.
Yeah,
position.
I told you Deshaun Jackson is my start of the week. Who is your wide receiver start of the week?
Well, I mentioned him earlier. It's Tyler Lockett. And here's my mentality with Tyler Lockett right now. I have had my reservations with Tyler Lockett the whole year. But I play in a couple leagues that are a little bit deeper, and we start 3 wide receivers, and I've been playing Tyler Lockett against my better judgment the whole year as my wide receiver 3, and he has continued to deliver. He scored a touchdown in every single game this year but one. Right? So, and Seattle hasn't really been lighting the world on fire offensively. They've been getting it done and scrapping out games, but you'd like to think with a better run game and hopefully Doug Baldwin coming back, but something's got to hopefully open up for this team. And if the offense gets going, hopefully that means more for Tyler Lockett. But for me, my mentality is he's only disappointed me maybe one time, but as a wide receiver 3, his disappointment, 9 points, I can let that slide. That's fantastic for a wide receiver 3. So for me, it's like I have to play you until you prove me wrong. So at this point, yeah, it's unsustainable for the touchdown to keep going this way. He's been super touchdown dependent, but I have to continue to play him in my wide receiver 3 or my flex spot because he's just been so good. So until he burns me, continue to play him.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I think I think some fantasy owners are like sell him while he's hot, right? But sometimes it's just if he's the guy, he got an extension this year. He's the guy that Russell Wilson is looking at in the end zone long, especially with Doug Baldwin being hobbled. Yeah, I don't mind that play at all. My tight end start of the week is a little bit gross too. You're not happy with him. You probably drafted him too high. And you and I, me particularly, were very high on this guy in the offseason. And that is Kyle Rudolph for the Minnesota Vikings. His fantasy games have not been good. He's only had 2 touchdowns on the season. And the first one, he only had 1 reception for 11 yards for 1 touchdown. But since then, he's been pretty solid. He just hasn't been getting it done in the end zone. And I just see that changing. He's going to be a fine tight end to start. Like we've talked about all season, it's a gross landscape. They play the Detroit Lions this week, and it's not going to be their defense is not to be too worried about. Darius Slay is questionable this week, so he probably will play. And watch, I mean, Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen are just going to eat, and I think Rudolph will too. So I just want to give owners of Kyle Rudolph a little bit of confidence. Don't feel bad about it. Start him this week. I think he's going to be close to that 10-point mark, and he's going to do you just fine.
I would absolutely love that. I have Kyle Rudolph in a couple spots. Might have to play him over Gronk in a league. So I like it. I hope that comes to fruition. And speak that into existence, my man.
I like it.
This might be a terrible idea on my part, but I'm going to double up on Seattle Seahawks this week. And at the tight end position, I'm going to go Ed Dixon.
I do like that play, by the way, even though you picked the two Seahawks.
Yeah, Ed Dixon is on your waiver wire. Trust me, I picked him up this morning as a free agent. So Ed Dixon is out there. And why I like Ed Dixon is, like I said, this offense is hopefully continuing to pick up momentum and open up. And, they find themselves in a pretty good matchup against the Chargers for some fireworks. But what I like about this matchup for Ed Dixon is the Chargers defense has allowed 3 touchdowns to tight ends in the last 3 of 4 games. So it looks really good for him in opportunity because they don't defend the tight end well, and they haven't lately. And if Russell Wilson can exploit that, even if Ed Dixon gets into the end zone once, if he records one catch for 5 yards and a touchdown, that's enough to get a week's worth of points and more at the tight end position. Because really this week, with Ertz on bye, Gronk may be out, you're looking at who? Kelsey and Kittle as your big 2 tight ends?
Yep.
So the tight end landscape is very thin this week in terms of the top studs. So all you really need is a touchdown for one of your tight ends, and you're right up there as a tight end 1. So I think Ed Dixon has the potential in a good matchup to be a tight end 1 this week.
I like that a lot. So we'll try
I don't
to
like the double Seahawk, but it's
bold.
It is
bold
what
move.
it is. Yeah, bold move, Cotton. Let's see how it works out for him.
So we'll try to do this somewhat quickly. We'll talk about these guys a little bit more in depth in weeks to come and why we maybe believe in these players. But I want you to talk about this first guy. And you've done your research. You like him. You have him in a couple of places, and I think you're going to buy him in other places where you don't have him. Tell me why Keenan Allen is a second half MVP.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy Keenan Allen. I have him in 3 of 6 leagues. I'd like to get him in more. And he's been bad this year.
Yeah, he's been disappointing.
So far in 2018, he was a wide receiver 1 week 1. And you thought, Keenan out of the gates looking good, exploded. Let's see this continue. And it really hasn't. He's only had 56 targets so far on the year for 41 receptions. I mean, reception rate is high. We're up into the 70% range. But 506 yards and 1 touchdown. Hasn't gone in the end zone, hasn't scored, hasn't really been that guy for Phillip Rivers in this offense, despite them having a much better record this year than they did last year. At this point, last year they were 3-5, and this year they are 5-2, 5-3, 5-2, 5-2.
Yeah.
So, I just want to compare his season so far this year to their season last year. And so through the first 8 weeks of the season, they had their bye week in week 9. First 8 games of the season, 72 targets, 39 receptions, 548 yards, and 1 touchdown. Okay, so he's very similar. 41 receptions for 506 last year, 39 for 548, still 1 touchdown on both sides. What did Keenan Allen do for you the last 8 games of the season? 87 targets, 62 receptions, 845 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Had 5 100-yard games or better.
Bam.
So he has the ability to catch fire. And if you can get a guy that has the potential to do this, to single-handedly win football teams' games, that's a guy you want on your roster. And he just has to get a little bit of mojo going one time in one game, and then it's just feed Keenan Allen over and over and over, and he will produce for you. People have said Keenan Allen is injury prone. We haven't seen that for the better part of a season and a half now. I'm over that. I think he's fine. He's ready to go. But Keenan Allen could catch absolute fire, and I think just the potential of that upside is worth having him on your team. And he's a buy low candidate right now because people are getting a little bit fed up with what they've seen out of Keenan Allen. Don't pay attention to it. This guy is a stud, and go out and get him because he will make a difference in the latter part of your season.
Yeah, that's a great call. I think you could buy him on the cheap, and we'll see what happens this week. But they have a tough matchup, so if he keeps in check, he is definitely a buy candidate for me. So my second half MVP for the running back position, I'll be honest with you, it was Kerryon Johnson to start. But I saw his schedule and it was rough. He's got Chicago twice and Minnesota. Didn't look good. So instead I went with another rookie who has immense opportunity, and that is Nick Chubb. So this week they've got Kansas City.
You're piggybacking on my start of the week, eh?
This Kansas City offense or defense should be great. He should eat at Kansas City. Next week it gets even better. They have Atlanta. After he gets a bye week, after that Cincinnati. They have Cincinnati twice to end the year, especially in week 16. Your championship matchup, you could be flexing Nick Chubb after he probably scored 10, 20 points in a row for you as the season goes on. So he's an immense talent at the running back position. He has full opportunity with Carlos Hyde gone. I think their offense continues to get better under new coaching in Cleveland. And Nick Chubb, you probably won't be able to get him because he's probably a keeper option. But I think he's going to be people's MVP second half of the year.
Yeah, and his situation just switched so fast after Carlos Hyde left town. So, big kudos to him just kind of stepping in and filling that role so nicely. But yeah, man, this could be a waiver wire pickup. And this is why we talk to people about waivers. Waiver wire pickup in the middle of your season that could turn out to be a week winning piece, a season-long winning piece, and a potential keeper for next year. So when players like this come around on your waivers, it's so important that you bid appropriately and get them on your team, because at the end of the year, fab sitting on your waiver priority or waiver budget means nothing. So Nick Chubb could absolutely be that guy that gets you a win second half of the season, gets you that championship.
Yeah, and I have a couple more guys, but I don't even know if I want to get into them too much. We're running kind of out of time.
You know what? I think the Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette is worth a quick chat.
Okay, I like it.
So I think we're on different sides of the fence here. I was when I was thinking about this second half MVP, I was thinking Latavius Murray instead of Nick Chubb, because he's been great in the absence of Cook, but it looks like Dalvin Cook will actually be returning this week. So Leonard Fournette is actually looking to return after the Jags bye week in week 10. So we have two potentially elite level running backs who've shown it. Dalvin Cook a little bit less than Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette was great last year, 1,000-yard rusher in his rookie season. Dalvin Cook injured last year. We didn't get to see all of him, but certainly has looked good. Both coming back off of injury.
Size, yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, he was on fire before his injury in his rookie season.
So I think the question here is, because they're both going to be returning at similar times from injury, who has the opportunity to make the biggest impact?
I think that has to be Fournette, right?
I think so, just because of the state of the team. Like the Jags, who many thought would win their division and move on to the playoffs, no problem. They have a losing record right now. So they're going to look to Fournette to come in and turn things around. And whether he does that or not, I think he has the bigger chance to make the impact, because so far Minnesota's taking care of business and they're doing it without Dalvin Cook, because that passing game is so great, and Latavius Murray has been every bit you've wanted out of him. So, Dalvin Cook makes this offense a whole lot better, but they've been good without him.
And the reason why I think Dalvin could be a second half MVP is because of the offense is so good. He does give you the pass catching opportunity out of the backfield that Latavius Murray just isn't quite elite at. Latavius is doing his job very well. But I think touchdown opportunity, because the team is quite a bit better, the offense is better. I think that's where Dalvin lends you more opportunity that way. Now, maybe
Right.
not touches. I think you're right in the fact that Leonard Fournette could get those touches and really could just be that workhorse, that Zeke Elliott type of guy that just gets crazy work. But yeah, it's tough to rely on guys who are injured. Both guys kind of came back and then got re-injured. Their hamstrings are just so broken right now. So it's a little bit scary to try to trade for a guy that's hurt. But I think both have an opportunity to win you your league if healthy.
Yeah, it's a volume versus opportunity.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Dalvin Cook will have more opportunity just because of how potent that Minnesota offense is. If you had to trade for one, who would you try to acquire?
See, I mean, we're probably opposite. It's probably Dalvin Cook for me.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I'd love a share of Dalvin Cook. I'm just so biased towards Fournette because I so desperately want him to be good because I have him in half the leagues I play in. But yeah, it's again, it's just more of a volume versus opportunity. You're going to look to Fournette to come in and save the offense and make them better, which I think he can do. But Dalvin Cook comes into an offense that's already rolling, that's already scoring a bunch of points. So I get it.
Both guys, if you trade for them, both guys have the opportunity to just be at the bottom of your depth chart, just not doing anything for your team. It's that possibility, that's that risk, but it could be both guys could have just huge reward.
Yeah.
It's time for the DFS DraftKings Stack Attack.
All right, let's get into the DraftKings Showdown, the DFS head-to-head live draft.
Last week we did this. Kill me at.
Last week you did this. We had some good results. Again, if you didn't listen to the last episode on Wednesday, I gave you guys a brief recap. Landon didn't end up doing so hot, which between the two of us, he is, for the record, the much better DFS player. I just happened to get lucky once again and picked a lineup that was legitimately 25 points away from winning $100,000. So, won a little bit of cash. It was a small contest, a $3 contest, but I am getting like $20. So, not too bad, but we're so close to winning the big money. So let's see if we can, strike some luck again, but we're going to switch it up. You're going to get first pick and we're going to do this as a draft. So, rules are we're going DraftKings. We have the ability to pick the same players, but for the sake of this little exercise and game, Landon's going to pick first. It's just going to go back and forth. You can pick at any position. Don't have to go in order of quarterbacks, running backs, wide receiver. You can jump around, but Landon's going to go first because I went first last week, and we can't pick the same players.
Sounds good. So
bring it, bro.
Last week, we faded this guy. We neither took him, so I'm going to go for it. His salary dropped. I'm going Todd Gurley as my first pick.
Oh, are you serious?
I'm going high-end running back. I think it's going to be a popular pick this week. I think there's going to be we're on a short slate, a lot of teams on bye, so there's going to be a lot of very similar players, but I'm going Gurley, number one.
Ay. Well, I'm going to go real cheap, and I'm going to play Alex Smith for $5,000.
Oh, you're starting at quarterback. I like it.
I'm going to start at quarterback.
Okay. Well, I'm going high end. This might be hard for me to make a lineup together, but I'm going to game stack with Alvin Kamara at 7,300.
Oh my goodness.
I'm starting Gurley, Kamara.
Your running backs off the chain.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going for another unsexy play. I'm going to go defense here, I think. And the Bears defense, man, probably just too good to pass up. I know they're $4,100. I usually don't spend up on defense like that. I mean, other considerations, maybe the Dolphins against the Jets at 2,800. You know what? I have the Dolphins in a couple spots. I'm gonna go Dolphins at 2,800. Just really save up some money for those big stud plays.
Yeah, I might need to go. I'm gonna have to go cheap defense here. I have a feeling about the Bills defense. I'm gonna go Bills defense at 2,300 against
What?
Chicago.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, I'm going cheap on defense here. Their defense looked really good against the Patriots. I'm hoping they're gonna ride that high, and Mitch Trubisky can throw a couple pick sixes. That's what I'm hoping for.
And this is how you lose, people. Matchup is amazing here. Christian McCaffrey, 7,800. He's going to be my stud running back, but he's going to get this done. Passing game, running game. He's going big this week. 200 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns, I'm saying.
I like that. So you got McCaffrey. I'm going to go at tight end now. Man, this is tough. I've got OJ Howard a lot of spots. I'm going to stick with OJ Howard. I like, again, with Fitzmagic at Carolina, I think Howard gets a lot of lucks.
Interesting play. I mean, it did work out for me last week. That last minute OJ Howard play really put me over the top going into the 4 o'clock games. Needed about 60 points from Martavis Bryant, Brandon Cooks, and Devontae Adams, and just came up a bit short because of the donut Martavis gave me. But man, I think I've got to stay true to my boy here and go with Tyler Lockett on the wide receiver 3 play.
Yeah,
$5,200.
That's cheap. I haven't even looked at wide receivers yet. I might be in trouble.
I think you are. We
So
might be going back and erasing a few picks.
I might have to switch a few picks up. So I'm gonna
That's
go.
not allowed. That's not allowed. You lose. It's over.
I gotta go cheap end here. You went Alex Smith at 5,000 at quarterback. Yeah. I'm gonna go a little bit more expensive. I think I gotta go with Fitzmagic. Stick to my guns. Stack him with OJ Howard, $5,500. Ryan Fitzpatrick. That could lose me the matchup. I'm a little bit worried about that. I wanted to go Goff. I really liked Goff at 6,000, but I don't think my budget would let me do that.
I'm going to go ahead and steal a guy that you talked about as your start of the week at the tight end position. I'm going with Mr. Kyle Rudolph, because if he does well in DFS, he's going to be real good in regular fantasy. So sign me up, Kyle Rudolph.
That is good. So I'm scrolling through these wide receivers, and there's some good. I could try stack who I really like. Chris Godwin at $4,400. That's a great value for a guy like that.
Ooh, going deep.
DT is $4,500. I got to stay under my budget. Oh man, Deshaun Jackson is 5,000, but I just feel like that's just too much Tampa Bay players. Even though he's my start of the week, I just feel a little bit worrisome on that. Dang.
It's a boomer bust play. I mean, we're playing in a GPP, a tournament play, so I think you almost have to go. Yeah, you can go try stack. It's not great, but
I'm gonna go try stack with Deshaun Jackson. It's $5,000. I kind of, the problem is because I went so high end at running back, my budget's right around that $5,000 mark, and the options are a little bit limited.
I am going to go with my wide receiver 2 in John Brown at 5,800.
Yeah, you have better options up there for sure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you do. All right, so it's going to be a popular pick this week. Oh, you know what? Here's a great shot. I'm going Mike Williams at $3,800.
Oh my goodness.
I got to go cheap here, but I like Mike Williams. I'm not sure why his salary is so low, but he's going to let me spend up a little bit more at one of my flex positions.
Dang.
Got to save that quiche, my man. He's cheap.
Hey, buddy, I feel you. I am gonna go on the hunch that Melvin Gordon does not play, and I'm gonna go Austin Eckler. Now,
Austin
if I'm gonna put a little wrinkle in here. If Gordon plays, I'm gonna make a switch. But as of right now, I don't think Melvin's going to play. It's looking like he's not. So I'm gonna go Eckler. $4,300. The volume could be huge there. He might be a chalk play, but I think I'm gonna go Eckler, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good call. I'm going to go one more cheap end. He's going to be chalk in a lot of lineups, but he's going to let me pick a stud for my flex. So I'm going to go Cortland Sutton at 3,900.
You're gonna jump on that, eh?
I'm jumping on it. Why not? It's a flyer play. I've got lots of flyers, but I've got lots of studs in here too, so...
Landon. I really wanted to go Todd Gurley, but I can't. I am going to go. Ooh, Mr. Tyreek Hill, you look so good. But I'm gonna go Kareem Hunt. $7,700. Give me that Kareem Hunt action.
That's a pretty good call. So for my last pick, you're gonna love it. It's so good. It's too good to be true. It's DeAndre Hopkins at $8,300.
Wow. Look, I don't mind the play, really.
I can fit him in. I've got $100 left. I could go Antonio Brown against Baltimore, but I'm going Hopkins in a better matchup.
I've got $7,800 left for my wide receiver 1 slot, and I'm going to go with a guy that hasn't been hot of late, but is probably one of the most talented receivers in the league. To be honest, the Rams did not scare me last week watching what a couple of the Packers wide receivers could do against them. So I'm going to go with the guy that should be the number 1 receiver on the year. I mean, with the start that he had, obviously Adam Thielen's been great, but Michael Thomas.
Yeah, no, good call. We talked about him last episode. That's a great call. I like that a lot.
So read us back your lineup.
My dirty lineup. So at quarterback, I've got Fitzmagic, Ryan Fitzpatrick at 5,500, Todd Gurley and Alvin Kamara in the same matchup. Both should have good matchups. Kamara's only $7,300. I think that's a steal. My wide receivers, my 3 of them are pretty bad, but they have some upside. I got Deshaun Jackson, Cortland Sutton, and Mike Williams as my 3 wide receivers.
Wow.
My tight end is OJ Howard. My defense is the Buffalo Bills, but my wide receiver 1 is DeAndre Hopkins.
I like it.
It's low, and high. Like I just went 3 super high and upside guys, and everyone else is cheap.
You know what? I'm going to make a quick switch here. I know it's not allowed, but I'm going to do it.
Okay. What you got?
Well, instead of going Austin Eckler, because I have to play that if Melvin Gordon plays, I get to switch it game. I'm going to pivot and go Nick Chubb instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's your start of the week, so that should be.
I got a couple starts of the week in here.
Yep.
If they hit, we look real good, but if they flop, then yikes.
Your starts of the week haven't been too hot lately, so
okay. Listen, it was last week was bad. I got Trubisky, give me that.
Yeah.
But the other 3 horrendous.
Bow. That's all right. But you still kill me, and when we got our money down, so I think this week we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm going for the hat trick here. Hopefully 3 in a row. Hopefully a little 3 in a row action, but we're going to go Alex Smith, $5,000. Kareem Hunt and Christian McCaffrey, $7,800. John Brown.
That's value.
Yeah, John Brown, $5,800. Tyler Lockett, $5,200. Michael Thomas rounding out the studs at $76,000. Kyle Rudolph, $3,600. Nick Chubb at $4,500, what I think is such a big value. Could be a chalk play. And the Dolphins defense at $28,000. I've got no money left. A full $50,000. And I've just clicked the submit button. So it's locked and loaded.
Sounds good. Should be a lot of fun. I've got lots of So what Mac and I talked about, he was so close he was one player away from having 100K in his pocket. So if you're playing multiple lineups and you like some of our guys, maybe you just you play Alex Smith because he's so cheap. Play him, play Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey, and then swap out the rest for different guys, different flyers you like. We all know who the flyers on each of our teams are, but switch them up to even have some money left on the table, and that's okay because those will what differentiate you from everyone else. And if you do a few lineups, a dozen lineups, I know it's a little bit of money, but you could have, if you are truly confident in those players like you were last week, you could have won big money.
Yeah, just one switch up could have.
Yep.
If I had have went Reynolds from the Rams instead of Martavis Bryant, could have been a rich man.
Yep, I remember I brought up Reynolds' name, I think, on our podcast. But I'm God, no, I can't go Reynolds. That's too cheap. But that's all right. It happens.
It happens. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. It is 10-2, so we're going to be releasing this podcast in about 3 hours. You are welcome.
Yep.
Enjoy your Saturday. Get out there. I'm going to try and enjoy maybe 1 or 2 more rounds of golf this weekend before the snow comes in the episode. Or sorry, not the episode. Jeez Louise. The season comes to an end. The episode's also coming to the end. But do clocks go back this week too? Saturday night?
I think they do actually. On Sunday, I think they do.
Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are falling back if you live Eastern Standard Time. We're going back an hour. If you're on the West Coast and you live in one of those time zones that don't switch, well, just keep doing what you're doing.
Have a good weekend, Mac, and we'll talk to you again on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a reminder to you all, we are doing our live AMA on Sleeper. You can follow the link in the episode description to get to our channel. We'll push out a notification when we go live, and you can pop by and give us your start-sit questions, your DFS plays. We'll try to help you out the best that we can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll see you guys next week, and hit us up on social if you need those last-minute advice. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Saturday Morning Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Mac_SMS and Landon_SMS. Support this independent podcast at patreon.com/SaturdayMorningSnap.